All right, everybody, welcome to Building Your Brand for Small Businesses. It's a partnership workshop between Bankert and the Parkland Chamber of Commerce. So thank you, Cameron and crew, for partnering with us on this. So today's plan is that we're going to go over the steps required for you to create, improve, or rebrand your business, organization, etc. We're also going to explore a new brand that we personally have been working on and creating, and so that'll be a part of my process as I go through here. And this is not meant to be ultra comprehensive. It's just sort of to get your toes wet and get things moving and juices flowing. So we want to leave you with just a couple bite-sized pieces for you to walk away with. And then if you have any questions at the end or you're watching this later on YouTube, just reach out in the comments and we'll help you out. So what a brand is not. Typically, most people, when they hear branding, especially if you're new at business and you just think, oh, I got my logo, that's my brand. And a logo is not a brand, it's not a product or service, it's not a marketing plan, it's not even a brand guide. It's not a tagline or slogan, and a brand is not what you say it is. So, definition that I tend to go with is that a brand is how people feel about and recognize your business. So how do other people perceive your business? That's actually your brand. And now you can do lots of things to sort of, um, have branding styles and everything that attach to your brand, but ultimately your brand is how people feel about you. And so we want to develop a brand in a way that people will, love us. And part of that is reaching out to the right people and making sure we're saying the right thing. But anyways, we'll go over all of that. The origins of branding. So branding is thought to have actually originated in ancient Egypt. He used it as a mark, used it to mark slaves and cattle. And you're like, why are we actually talking about real branding? But everyone who saw the branding knew who the slave or cattle belonged to. And so if we think of branding in this way, it's just going to tweak something, or at least it did for me. The etymology of the word brand originates from the Old Norse word brander from the 10th century, which means to burn. And so when you're creating a brand, you're trying to create something that is solid, that fuses in there, and that people will recognize instantly as being you. And so all of the elements that become part of the brand, including how customers perceive you, how you answer the phone, the way you dress, all of those things become part of who you as a business or organization are, and therefore your brand. So, what makes a brand? So a brand is all the elements that shape how the public sees your business. So these are visuals, voice, value, behavior, their experience with you, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to go through our mini process of how to create a brand. And in doing so, I'm going to parallel with one of our sort of side project brands, our Crazy RV. I like this because it's fun. It's our travel channel. And we just started a new project called Fight the Couch. And so I'm going to talk a lot about sort of the way that we manipulated and not manipulated, but the way that we talked through the Fight the Couch project as a whole and how that whole branding was put together. So the first thing that you want to do whenever you are creating any sort of branding or business opportunity is to start with who you want to serve. And I know it seems like every workshop we do, we start with this one slide that's like, who's your target audience? Do you know who your target audience is? But honestly, if you don't know who your target audience is, you don't know how to talk. And if you don't know how to talk or communicate with your audience, then you're not going to be able to match up. You're going to be speaking different languages, and you're going to be putting a lot more effort into actually reaching the people that you want to reach. So discuss creating profiles of your ideal customers so that your brand resonates with the people most likely to buy from you. If your if your brand is a bunch of bikers, then you know your branding elements and the way you talk and everything is going to be in line with that sort of genre. If your brand is more geared to, moms who are cooking for their young toddlers, then your branding elements are going to change. So if you know who you're talking to first, it's going to save you a lot of time. So when we're looking at Fight the Couch, for example, we know our audience is 35 to 55-year-olds who feel stuck in a rut and want to see true change in their life. So this rut could be a physical, emotional, financial, or spiritual rut, and they're holding on to something and letting go could be more freeing than getting more. So that's sort of another little sub element that we sort of plucked out of that. But it's basically those kind of things that you're fighting against. And so that was Fight the Couch. So this is just a sort of mini idea of these are the type of things that you can write down and jot out about your particular audience. What what can you tell me about them? If you could create a persona about them, tell me all the details and get as detailed as you want. That doesn't mean that your entire audience is going to be this specific individual. There's many times where I've had clients who will actually develop a persona and they'll start marketing and doing all their branding and everything. And then 6 months into it, they realize, you know what, this is who I thought my target market was. But after I've been doing this for 6 months, I've realized that my target market is actually this. And they start to shift who they're actually talking to. But at least if you have a target that you're shooting at, you can adjust it. If you have no target, you've got nothing to adjust. So, phase two, study your competition. Just look at others in your space to find out where you can stand out. What is everyone doing versus how are you different? Talk about what's working and not working in other brands. So, if another brand is doing really well at X, Y, and Z, why is that? Is there room in the market for you also to do that? Or do you want to do something just slightly different and hit those target customers that they're not actually aligned with? So in our case with Fight the Couch, most people in our space are fighting against weight. That's really what they're up against. They're trying to get in shape. And it's strictly a physical sort of thing. So it's about getting fit or looking at a certain way. So we developed a common enemy with the couch. It's something we sit on every day, everyone can relate to, and everyone can fight. And the couch can also symbolize a number of different things. So with Fight the Couch, that's where we changed and made ourselves unique, is that we're actually going to be diving into some of these things in a different way. And it's fun to fight against the couch. Next, we're going to clarify your purpose and position. So, what problem are you actually solving? And I know this is a lot of like things that should be done in your marketing strategy and all of these other different documents that you put together for businesses, but as a part of branding, you got to know these things too. So, what problem are you actually solving for people? And there's also the same thing of, there's the problems that we think we're solving, and then there's digging deeper and finding the problems that we actually solve. Because sometimes what we say we're doing is not actually what we're doing something else. And then the second question is, why do you exist? As a business, what role do you actually serve in the greater good? So create a simple purpose statement that guides decision making. So if I was to take this across to Fight the Couch, we are solving the problem of feeling like you're stuck in a rut with no hope. We exist to provide people with the motivation they need to take positive steps in their lives. Our vision is to change people's lives in a positive way so that when they look back in 2 years, they won't recognize themselves anymore. And so we do this by leading from example. So it's a very simplified purpose and position, but it gives us a rock that we're then going from. So in all the decisions, when we're looking at branding, when we're looking at elements, when we're looking at logos, we can look back at our purpose and position and we can say, does this fit in with what we're actually doing? Or are we just sort of grabbing bits and pieces? Because we want it to be one cohesive unit in the end. And I'll talk about this later, but One of the ways that this was really drilled into me was through a couple people that I was following on YouTube and just watching them create their own thumbnails and everything like that, and how they all kind of tied together so that when I opened up and was scrolling through YouTube, you could just pick out their videos super quick. So define your personality and voice. Brand personality equal your brand's human traits. So is your brand friendly? Is it formal? Is it fun? All of these elements, you can apply human traits to your brand and say, as a brand, what are we? How do we operate? When we pick up the phone, are we happy, excited? Are we more formal? Is it just a robot that everyone's talking to? Defining your personality and voice helps us set the tone and also will tell us that, oh, we're a playful brand or we're a super professional lawyer type brand. And knowing exactly where you fit on that spectrum will also come from who your target audience is. What are they going to respond to? So when you're talking to them, are you speaking in a formal way, a friendly way? What do they actually respond to? So if I pull this across, Fight the Couch is practical inspiration for real adults who are done pretending that they're fine. We have a friendly tone to ourselves, so we want to think. And it's also inspirational as opposed to sort of a rah, 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 do this type idea. Our next step we're going to do is we're going to craft a brand story. So we're going to help people connect emotionally by telling them why we do what we do. So a quick narrative formula with this is there's a challenge, there's a solution, and then there's an impact. So for example, I'll do this again. So the challenge with Fight the Couch, somewhere along the way we get comfortable. We build careers, dreams, and families. We find a groove, and that groove can start to feel claustrophobic. The solution, this is the second part to it. So we decide to do something unreasonable, something normal people won't do, not to show how awesome we are, but to show that you can do anything one small step at a time. And then we got our Fight the Couch logo there. That's sort of our playful. Here's the couch, getting off the couch and running. So, my whole Fight the Couch thing that I'm doing, if you're not aware, probably Debbie's the only one, but uh, within 2 years, I want to run a 50-kilometer trail race. So I've started training from that, but I'm basically haven't ran since high school competitively. So this is a big undertaking, and I'm giving myself about 2 years to do it. So, what's the impact of this? So, as we go through these three steps, what's the impact? So, this isn't about running, it's about proving to yourself that you're not done, that you refuse to sit back down, that your life matters. Your couch may not be running, it might be breaking a bad habit, changing a behavior, or believing in yourself. Imagine how your life would change if someone believed in you. And so that's the impact that we want to have is that we want to motivate people to move. So when we're looking through our crafting our story here, we say, okay, what is the challenge that we're helping people overcome? Like, why do we exist in the first place? What solution are we providing, and what is the tone and everything of that solution? And then what impact are we having on those individuals' lives? So you may, say you develop a product. Well, the product does this. It has this solution for people's lives, and this is how it's going to make the world a better place. And by collecting those together, you can then tell that story. And you can tell that this sort of gets ad-like. You can see how you could take this and then roll this into a reel or a short or something like that. Now, after all of that, we've finally gotten to choose your brand name. So, what is your brand actually going to be called? Keep it memorable and meaningful. Touch on practical tips like searching for uniqueness, etc. And in all honesty, most people don't start that way. They start with, oh, this is my business name, or my business name has just become, Richard Bankert's business because that's the way it was. The first business I had was RB Design It, but it wasn't, it was just the side hustle thing. And then when I went to register and it cost me 40 bucks, and they're like, oh, there's someone in Winnipeg who already has that name. I was like, okay. Well, I guess I'll just go with Richard Banker Web Design because I can put my own name in it and then it's unique enough. And I know I'm not going to have to keep spending $40 to figure out a name that works for me. And so that's where that came from. And then it wasn't until years later that we changed to Bankert Marketing. And so typically as a business, we start with some random name that we come up with. We don't come up with a brand and then develop a name. But if you could reverse things and do it the other way, you come up with your ideas, all of your storyboard, you figure out why you're actually doing it and how you're changing the world, and then you can come up with a name that actually impacts. So now that we've been doing this longer, our name is Our Crazy RV for this channel, and the challenge that we're doing is called Fight the Couch. And so Fight the Couch has become a hashtag, a brand, an element that we can then latch onto and promote. Next, we're going to write up a slogan, a quick tagline that's going to get attached to different things we do. And you can have so many of these different elements in there. You can have a variety of them, but having just a quick slogan that you can grab and throw on things as you need it, it really helps reinforce. So it should be easy to remember and consistent with your identity. And really, that's another really good exercise because you can boil down what you do to it and to see how can I say this in as few words as possible. Because if I can just boil it down, then I'm able to convey what I'm doing super quick or in just a couple words. So, like, just do it. We know that that's attached to Nike. It's just a few words. And so we're trying to do a same thing here with Fight the Couch. It's just Fight the Couch. And all of the branding that's attached to it, all of the meaning that's attached to it, we're then going to bring along. So, as a whole, the slogan is Fight the Couch is an invitation for anyone who feels stuck and wants to take a meaningful step forward. But Fight the Couch itself is also a slogan. Now we get into our actual fun things of like logo design and colors and typography and visual language that people like recognize instantly. And visual effects, perception, and emotion, and all of those things all get tied into our logo because as we see the logo, it's going to attach uh, how that whole look goes. And so this is an example. This is a different example. I don't have a logo in here, but this is a visual representation. These are some of the videos that we had put up. And the one thing that I tried to grab here is there's the color and the yellow line around the outside and all of that, it all worked together so that when people saw it, they instantly recognized. Also, the yellow helped it stick out on YouTube more. But uh, this idea of carrying the same thing across so that when people see it, they instantly recognize. Um, I did with these particular ones, I did go off brand a little bit on purpose because there was another brand that was doing really well. And so I copied their blue color just in hopes that I would grab some people who would misclick and, you know, end up on my videos instead of their videos. But you can take your brand and pull it across all the way through different things. We have another one. I pull a lot of my examples from YouTube, but we have another one that's 100K kids challenge, and so that one, all of the videos that are tied to that, they all have the logo across all of them, and it ties everything together. So by using the same elements, you'll see in our slides here. We've got this blue and green and gray, and we've been pulling that across all of our brand and all of our things that we put out. So that when someone sees it, they don't even have to think about it. They instantly can attach it to us and what we do. So we want brand consistency across every touch point. So whether that's website, social media, signage, our everyday interactions, our customer service, we want to live our brand. The other element within this is that brands evolve over time, and adapting is part of just staying relevant. So rebrand when necessary, but base changes, uh, your base changes are always going to be tied to the first parts of our slide there, where we're talking about, who are you serving? Who, what is your brand story? How are you actually making a difference in the world? And so understanding all of those things is key. So some of the ways that we help businesses is just with customer analysis, name and tagline development, brand strategy, product identity and packaging, brand marketing and advertising, as well as web development and content. So if you have any questions about any of this workshop or any of our future ones, feel free to reach out. But thank you so much for joining me for this quick bite-sized learning, and I hope you found it informative and relevant.